I love Bethesda. I love bugs. I love video games. We have concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Anthony, have you ever contracted poison ivy? Or
No.
poison oak, come into contact?
Never, not even once. And I think that's very strange because I lived in Florida where everything is a deadly plant.
Yeah.
I went to summer camp and listened to no one. I go out into the world with my dog, and wherever he runs, I allow him to. So like I've never gotten poison ivy.
I never have either. I've always been terrified of it. I've always been hyper aware. You know, they say leafy 3, let it be. You know, if there's 3 leaves on a thing, you get away from it. Yeah, that was
You're talking about the Beatles lyrics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let it be leafy 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when it got weird. Everything was about a walrus or a leafy 3.
Yeah.
A warm gun.
Those are the drug years.
Nobody knew what they were talking about.
They were high and itchy, you know?
They seem like a mediocre band. They seem like a Nirvana ripoff, if I'm honest.
Definitely. Definitely. There's Nirvana, and then there's everybody else, even earlier.
Yeah.
I have also never gotten poison ivy. I don't understand it. I've been like you. I've been to many summer camps, hiking, traipsing through things, and I always felt like. But here's the interesting thing. I don't know if you know this. Only 80% of the population is allergic to poison ivy. So it's possible that you and I are in that 20% that just don't get like we have brushed up against it, but we don't get any symptoms.
Well, I am known for my strong constitution, so that makes sense.
There's one thing I know about you. It's that you're resilient.
Yeah, I'm immune to most things. He says covidly.
Covidly.
He covided covidly down the stairs.
Yeah, this is I think a pretty significant number of people, 20% that don't get it. But I've certainly seen friends who have gotten poison ivy or poison oak. There's poison ivy, there's poison oak, and then there's
no. You're talking. There's poison ivy, and then there's Professor Oak.
Oh,
one's from Batman and one's from Pokemon.
Well, there's also poison sumac.
Yeah, sumac's
like
supposed to be like
character.
That's supposed to be a bad one.
I have never even heard of poison sumac before I started investigating this story.
Shot first.
But sumac, yeah. Sumac is sounds like a acronym for some sort of computer that will turn on its creator.
Yeah. Sumac is who 80% of people that go to public universities owe their money to.
That's right. Sumac is a hidden Mortal Kombat character. Sumac is what Steve Jobs' illegitimate children do.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I've never contracted any of those poisons, but it is a problem. If you've ever seen someone with you can have various stages of it, right? You just have the red, itchy skin, or you can get like boils.
I think the reason we're afraid of it is there was it's another one of those things where there was a significant amount of children's entertainment in the 80s and 90s that was about kids getting poison ivy. Poison ivy was a big thing that befell children. I remember like if a show was about summer camp or anything or any sort of vacation, chances were one of the characters would have poison ivy at some point.
Yeah. You either get poison ivy or you find yourself trapped inside a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Those are the two options.
You either get poison ivy or you get busy dying. And that's from the Shawshank Redemption.
You live long enough to, you die a hero or you live long enough to contract poison ivy.
That's right.
That's what they say.
That's right. Why are we talking about this?
Well, we got a story sent to us by our old friend Cahoots.
Wow.
Jeff Engelstein.
Wow. How many board games did you get?
Oh man,
in exchange for this story, for doing this poison ivy story.
Hits with the stories. This is a story about poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac, and the people who investigate it. There are folks like this Peter Barron fella who removes poison ivy for a living. And he goes out, fully covered, every inch of his body covered, so as not to contract the horrible itching sensation. By the way, it's urushiol. Urushiol is the name of the compound on the leaves of all three of these varietals that causes your skin to itch and be irritated. Urushiol, it's an oily mixture of organic compounds.
I thought Urushiol was the god of the plane of thought.
Urushiol, yes. Do not taunt Urushiol.
No.
That's what people are allergic to. Anyway, this fella goes out and he clears vast swaths of poison ivy so as to protect the school children and the various frolickers. Yeah. Which, not a job for the faint of heart, he says. But he also, in doing so, photographs the areas that are overrun by poison ivy, poison oak. He's in Massachusetts and northern New Hampshire. That's where he focuses his efforts. And he's been photographing these for years, 14 years.
Wait, are we saying that Massachusetts is a town in New Hampshire? I don't know much about geography, but I cannot think that's correct.
Well, he says he covers Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. That's what I meant to say.
It sounded like you said that Massachusetts was in northern New Hampshire. And I was like, we've been retroactively failed by the school systems.
I mean, it is something I could say. If you had told me that with enough confidence, I would have not disagreed because, I grew up on the West Coast. All that stuff that happens over there, I don't have any idea what's going on.
It's all New England.
It really is.
The entire right-hand side of the country is New England.
I don't understand. I look for the state of New England and it's not there. I don't understand it.
I got my picture taken with the Castle Guard in New England.
In New England?
Yeah. They're not allowed, the beefeaters, they're not allowed to move.
I know, it's amazing. Even if you offer them tea and crumpets in New England. They call a trunk a boot.
Whoa. Like of a tree?
Yeah.
So the boot of a tree?
Where the poison ivy grows.
Around the boot of the tree.
Boot of the tree.
Yeah.
Anyway, this guy, his name is Peter Barron. They call him Pesky Pete. Hey, you've got COVID. It's not my fault. They call him Pesky Pete. Pesky Pete's poison ivy removal. Anyway, he's been photographing these areas of poison ivy leaves, these large these large sections that he has to remove. And he's been doing it for 14 years.
Wow.
And what he's noticed over that time, because now he has an actual scientific record, that May 10th, May 11th is when they used to be the first sightings of poison ivy growth in nature. But now, 14 years later, he's seeing it in early April. And so he was kind of curious as to why that would be. Why are they arriving consistently earlier in the year? So he consulted with some scientists. And guess what, Anthony? Guess what we have to thank for this?
Wizards.
It is wizards. New England Wizards. It's,
Michael Jordan used to play for the New England Wizards.
I believe that's accurate when he was in his baseball sojourn, right? When he was a baseballer.
That's right.
He hit so many goals for that baseball team, the New England Wizards.
That all sounds correct to me.
Anyway, it's climate change.
No.
Climate
Are we sure
change.
it's not just like a sign of the of an economic downturn? Like how like Halloween decorations are on sale now in July, and
Right. Yes.
and then immediately it's Christmas, like the day after Halloween. There's not
Yeah.
even anything for Thanksgiving anymore. Like, are we sure it's not just we're trying to boost the poison ivy economy?
It's like how you get pumpkin spice so early now. I don't need pumpkin spice or Uracil. I don't need the constant itchy. There's a certain time of year I enjoy a red irritation on my skin.
Yeah.
And there's a certain time I enjoy pumpkin spice. And those two things.
Now, here's what I'm going to
should
tell
not
you.
overlap.
Starbucks started putting them both together.
Yeah.
Sort of like they do with the pumpkin coffee with the green tea topper. Now what
Right.
they'll do is they'll give you a little Uracil, and then on top it's a little bit of pumpkin spice. And I got to tell you, Jeff, you think you're not going to like it, but it's itchy and festive going down.
It adds a little bite, a little throat irritation that lingers. It's like, oh wow, I really know I'm drinking that.
Yeah, listen, it's good. And this episode is sponsored by the Starbucks Corporation. Starbucks, they've never done anything wrong.
It's like a weird tagline, but
No, I mean,
just
but
stating the obvious.
if you haven't done anything wrong, I think it's important to let people know, because so many companies have done things that are wrong.
It's true.
And so
Not
I think
Starbucks.
no, and that's why they feel like it's important to tell them. And they specifically have not done anything that has contributed to climate change, which I think is why they're a perfect sponsor for this story.
Yeah.
So this is happening. I mean, we've talked about this before. I had a birthday when I was a kid that it was like my birthday was the last gasp of summer, right? It's a mid-September birthday, and the next week, boom, baby, it was autumn. And that's the way it was. It's not that anymore. It's the middle of summer. It's the middle of summer. My birthday.
Well, that's the
now.
thing is that the poison ivy loves warm weather. It
Sure.
loves warm weather.
And
since
Batman.
we're getting more CO2 in our atmosphere, you get a little warmer weather earlier, and the plants are like, oh, sick. It's time for me to get out here and start rubbing on the school children.
Yeah.
You know?
Get
'Cause
on
they
the
love
boot
it.
of the tree.
Yeah. Get on that boot. And this is not just anecdotal, right? Obviously, Mr. Pesky Pete is just kind of, he's recording it with photography, but it's just one section. It's just anecdotal. It's not the scientific method, but we do have some hard science to back this up, because there have been two different efforts, at least reported here in this story, about teams of researchers who have tried to simulate the effects of climate change, of the warming of both the atmosphere and the soil, because the surface of the planet is also warming. It's not just the atmosphere. And in the 90s,
did we tell them that they don't need to simulate it? It's happening right now. They can just go out and get the real data. You don't need to waste your time. There's a lot of climate change happening all around us.
it's it's really speeding up too. You don't have to wait around too long for it.
No. You could try to do it faster than nature's doing it. In order to be like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like. But let me tell you something. The faster you make your experiment, nature's just going to do it faster. It's just
so true.
Yeah,
It's accelerating at a rate that we can't keep up with. But that is exactly what this team in the 90s tried to do. They actually created these huge towers around these 6 circular forest plots, and they pumped CO2 into these giant towers. So they changed the atmosphere inside these giant circular forest plots, and they maintained it all with this very sophisticated system where if the wind, they matched the exterior environmental conditions with the interior environmental conditions. So if the wind was going east to west in the exterior, they had sensors that recorded that and then blew the gas the same direction. So it was like This is exactly what it would be like if the CO2 was rapidly increasing in this exact spot on Earth.
Gotcha.
The idea was to simulate the conditions that they expected to happen in 2050, which right around the corner, baby. Right around the corner.
I want to know if their idea of 2050, does it say if their idea of 2050 is like already here? If we've already passed what their idea of 2050 was?
It does not specifically say that, but I would not be surprised.
I want to know, because in the 90s, I like to think that even our worst estimate of what it was going to be like was far, far, far off. Because our CO2 production has just gone bonkers, like cuckoo bananas.
Cuckoo bananas, yeah.
So they have these giant. Honestly, I wish I could see this because this is exactly my aesthetic. You know what I mean? You know how much I love like anything that is a forest, and then in the middle of the forest there's some sort of like futuristic technology.
Yeah.
That is exactly my aesthetic in a movie, in a video game, in anything. So to like go into the center of this forest and see these giant cylinders that are computer controlled, like blowing various gases that you can probably see, that's pretty dope. And I wish I could have seen it. Yeah, I like it.
They called them cylinders of the future, which is also a badass name.
I want to see that.
And what they found was, I think, exactly what you might intuit, which is the more carbon dioxide was in the cylinder, the faster the plants grew.
Yeah.
So because that's their food. They need carbon dioxide. We expel it. They breathe it in. I learned that in third grade. The whole there's little arrows that showed the air coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And right into the leaf there with the arrow. And then their arrow shot out oxygen back for me.
And if that's all you know, you're probably a climate denier.
Yeah, if you stopped at the third grade.
Yeah, if you're like, that's their food. The more we make, the more they go, nom nom nom. I think I've heard that on the floor of Congress before. I think I've heard somebody say, if the honorable representative from New York could explain to me how this could be dangerous when, according to my graph right here, the more carbon dioxide we make, the more tree go num num num.
I have a plant in my office. I breathe into it daily.
Every day,
what is the problem?
I walk up to my plant and my gorgeous young secretary, and I go,
and both of them
closely to both of them.
Both of them enjoy it when I expel my gas.
So could you explain, could your scientists explain how all of a sudden the num 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 factor does not matter? I say more. So what they determined was what they observed was that trees in this high carbon dioxide environment grew about 18% faster than they would just outside these cylinders of the future. So exactly the same place, exactly the same wind and atmospheric conditions. The only difference is higher CO2. Yeah.
Trees, 18% faster growth.
Go team trees.
Go team trees. Get this.
Yeah.
Vines grew even faster than trees.
Sure.
Because they don't have to waste any energy on building trunks, or as the New Englanders call them,
boots.
Lifts.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's smaller plants. They require less food, less fuel to grow. And so as you give them more, they can use it more efficiently. So how fast do they grow?
Well, the tip-top, most fastest improving plant that they tested in the cylinder of the future was, you guessed it, poison ivy. Whoa. Poison ivy grew 70% faster in areas of high CO2.
Oh, that's problematic.
Yeah.
I mean, the vine growth being 70% faster is problematic overall, because I would imagine that as the vines grow 70% faster, even though the trees are growing 18% faster, the vines are taking up more and more space, more and more resources in the area, and that can't be good for the trees and the other plant life. I would imagine the vines are kind of choking out the other plant life. But then poison ivy growing 70% faster,
yeah,
that's no good.
And guess what else? That's not the worst of it. Not only is it growing like crazy fast, it's becoming more toxic. So higher carbon dioxide levels made the plant produce a more potent form of urushiol.
Ooh.
So it's even more oily and yucky and itchy, scratchy. Ooh, I got one down my backy.
No, but I think we could have seen that coming, because some people, you give them just a little taste of success, a little growth, and they immediately become just toxic people. And so I think that applies probably to poison ivy as well, where it's just like, ooh, look at me now. I'm very successful. Now I'm more successful than tree.
Classic bragging ivy.
Yeah, just forgetting where they came from.
That's why they call it Ivy League, because you brag about it just like poison ivy.
That's right. You know? And it's just as obnoxious and just as irritating to the skin.
Speaking of Ivy League, this 90s thing was done at Duke University. It was repeated many years later at the Harvard Forest in Central Mass, where instead of creating these cylinders and pumping in CO2, what they did is they just warmed up the top layer of soil. They only warmed the top layer by about 9 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
To simulate climate change, but they didn't affect the actual atmosphere. They just warmed the surface of the planet in these little sections. And guess what? Exactly the same thing happened. Poison ivy went, woo, 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 and it started growing. The exact quote here from Jacqueline Mohan, a professor at the University of Georgia's Odum School of Ecology. Her exact quote is, "My heavens to Betsy, it's taking off."
Whoa. I love that. My heavens to Betsy, it's taking off. Wow.
Yeah.
That's what they said. That's what they said in the Apollo 11 mission too.
Yeah.
That's what the Wright brothers said.
Yeah.
That's a very common phrase in the scientific community.
Yeah. Well,
my heavens to Betsy.
She was honoring her scientific predecessors by saying,
I have this thing where when I'm trying to exclaim surprise and not use profanity, which is tough for me. I curse like a sailor. You know this.
Yeah.
I always say, "Oh, my stars and garters."
Which I love.
Yeah, I like Beast from X-Men.
Yes.
Like that's where I got it. I was just like, that's the dumbest thing for anybody to say. And I love it.
Yeah.
My heavens to Betsy, it's taking off, I think is another thing that's going to stick with me as a vocal tick. It's just so silly.
We got to find out where that comes from. Cause my heavens to Betsy, like who is Betsy and why is she involved?
To Betsy. I'd love to know. Yeah. That's one of those ones where you like, I picture June Cleaver saying it, or Donna Reed.
Yeah.
Where did it come? The origins of Heavens to Betsy comes sometime between the years 1850 and 1914. It's a variation on the phrase "for heaven's sake," which began as a euphemism for the considered blasphemous "for God's sake" and "for Christ's sake."
Yeah, but why Betsy?
Why Betsy?
Maybe it was just a super common name at that time. You know?
So fascinating. It's also a punk band from Olympia, Washington, in 1991.
Sweet.
Part of the early Riot Girl movement. Hell yeah, heavens to Betsy. That's all I know about that.
Yeah.
So don't ask me anything else.
Anyway, so yeah, the just warming the soil made poison ivy. She says poison ivy takes off more than any tree species, more than any shrub species. Poison ivy coming for us all. Poison ivy loves the earth warming up, loves the ground warming up, loves CO2, just loves it all. Wants to get more toxic, wants to get bigger. They said they've observed larger leaves. They're actually growing, not just growing in proliferation, but growing actually in size. The leaves themselves are getting bigger.
They say that it's starting to talk to Peter Barron and say, "Feed me,
Feed me, Peter.
feed me, Peter."
It's okay though. He has a very unusual dentist friend who's going to help him out.
What does this mean? What is going to happen? How is this going to affect the environment? What's going down?
Well, we're all going to get poison ivy.
Dope.
So hope you're in the 20% that doesn't get all itchy, scratchy. Because it turns out they've noticed over the last few years an uptick in hospitalizations from poison ivy. They say the vast majority of poison ivy cases don't result in hospitalization.
Right.
It's just people with, putting on some calamine lotion and dealing with it, trying to sleep, just having some scratchy skin.
Yeah.
But there are some cases that take people to emergency rooms with, the boils and the big welts and stuff.
Yeah.
And that has increased dramatically in the last few years. And they think these things are linked. They think that climate change is creating bigger, nastier, more abundant poison ivy.
Oh,
and
boy.
it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse.
Oh, dear.
So, just something else to worry about. That's all I'm saying. Climate change, on your list of things to worry about now are poison ivy is going to be everywhere and huge and itchy.
I'll say this. Climate change wasn't really on my things to watch before this.
Right.
I wasn't
Now it's real.
Yeah. Before this, I was kind of like, all right, I've seen your picture of the polar bear on the tiny ice. And he's like, oh no, I'm a polar bear. This ice is too small. It's like, whatever, dude, that's polar bears. And that doesn't affect me. Is the summer, is summers warmer? Yeah. And isn't that what we want out of summers? Yeah. So I'm not really worried about it, but I will say that this poison ivy thing has me a little concerned.
Yeah. The storms of a generation that seem to happen every year, and the massive disruption to houses and homes, the fires, the tornadoes.
We've had to chopper the trust fund kids out of Burning Man this year, which is rough.
All of that.
Shout out to all the trust fund kids that really had to go through it at Burning Man this year. Hey, all you tech employees that have like a lot of money to pretend to be Mad Max in the desert, I hope you're okay.
All that stuff, NBD, right?
Yeah.
NBD. But now we're talking about something that's going to affect me. And that is my edge of forest hikes.
My New Hampshire hikes that I take. You know what? Actually, now that we say it, this isn't going to affect me at all. I still don't believe in climate change.
I think it's just bizarre and alarming and interesting, frankly.
It's
how many unexpected effects changing the Earth by just a few degrees is having.
No, it's
and that's why this story is fascinating to me.
It's absolutely terrifying because things that are not issues, it all adds up, right? It all adds up. We all think about the big ones, but it's like even this summer, going out and walking my dog during like record heat, 5 to 7 degrees warmer than it usually is. It's like, this is now misery, and it's affecting my health and my dog's health. And then you look at little things like this. It's like, water levels are going to rise, and we're going to be fighting each other for for gasoline and whatever, but also there's just going to be a lot of poison ivy around. Like every little thing that's bad is getting more bad.
That's true. It's just, we're going to be desperate and angry and itchy. Just so itchy all the time.
If you had to choose desperate, angry, or itchy for the rest of your life, which one?
Well, I'm already the first two.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just not have the third one at all.
Right. You know? So you're immune. You don't have to participate. You've tested out.
That's good. Lucky me.
Woo! Lucky me.
It's like fast, good, or cheap. You pick two. You know? It's the same thing. Angry, itchy, or desperate. Pick two.
Pick two. You can have it angry or itchy, but not desperate. This is wild, and it's just another. It's just I'm sorry. There's a good. Go ahead.
There's a good news. Good news. There's good news. I forgot to give you the good news.
Yeah. All right.
Real good time to be Pesky Pete's poison ivy removal. You know,
that's true. I'm sure Pete's doing real well.
Real boom period for Pesky Pete. You know,
I would imagine that in the beginning it was a little tough. Because people were like, Pete, we thought that you were removing all this. And he's like, I did. I swear. I did. That's why I take pictures.
And probably got some bad Yelp reviews during that time.
Then people realized like, oh no, this Pete was doing it. But it means the family, like in a time when not all family businesses are safe, Pesky Pete, he's doing all right. People are going to tell you to learn to code. Don't learn to code. Learn to get rid of poison sumac.
Specialize, you know?
It's
a growth industry. Literally.
Build up a slow immunity to Urashol. Lick a tiny bit of it every day.
Don't go to college.
No, don't go to college.
Lick poison ivy leaves.
Yes.
That is, if there's one takeaway from this science podcast, kids. And I know you're listening.
Hi, kids. This podcast audience skews incredibly young.
Yeah, we got our finger on the pulse of the youth.
Yeah.
And they hate college, but they love licking things. So I think this falls right into their wheelhouse.
Yeah. I think so. I think this is the way to go. Listen, if you'd like to help us out, don't lick us.
No. Please. Anthony has COVID.
I have COVID. Licking me is a bad idea. Licking poison sumac, good idea.
Excellent idea.
You can trust us. We're a science podcast.
That's right.
Lick the poison sumac. Don't lick us. But if you'd like to help us out, you can do so by giving us money.
Some money. Honestly, money is the best way to help us. And there's an easy way to do that, and a way that can get you some cool stuff. In return, all you got to do is aim your web browser over to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. There you will find a veritable cornucopia of perks and bonuses available to you simply by making sure this show that gives great information to the youth of America and the world gets to continue. Give us $1 a month. You get access to the Discord. More money a month. The perks go up from there.
Yeah. We'll give you access to several other Discords. That's not true.
That's not true. Cooler
you get bonus episodes. You get extra videos every month. You get early episodes, things like that. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. There is a level of the Patreon where if you support us at that level, you can lick us.
I mean, we're not above it.
We're not above it. But don't lick me right now. I have COVID.